How's it going, folks? Just a bit of a quick catch up on what's been growing on here over the last couple of weeks. We'll start up on the deck, give you a look at the gingers and a few other bits and pieces, and then we'll pop on down and yeah, show you the aquaponics and what the backyard's looking like. So to begin with, just give you a look at the black turmeric. She's yeah, doing really well. It's been in the same pouch now for 2 seasons and has divided nicely. I've got no flowers in this pouch, but I'll show you another one in a minute that has decided to flower, so I brought it up here to the deck. Down here, the poor old coconut Mark gave us, she didn't take, unfortunately. I know he's got 3 more up at his place, and last time I checked they were looking really good, so yeah, probably just the way that I abused this one, unfortunately. Over here we have the herb beds, and the mint has just taken off. We've cut that back a few times to add into different drinks and bits and pieces, but yeah, it still keeps bouncing back. The garlic chives, we've been taking a few bits and pieces off these guys already. Actually have a little flower spike over on the other side there. Now, no mites, aphids up here as of yet, the little black buggers, but yeah, hopefully we'll be able to keep them out of here. Just the little seaside daisies have picked up. And starting to get a few flowers on them. The basil has been lightly trimmed, really needs a heavier trim than this, just to try and get them to bush out a little bit. And in the end, still no parsley. Down here, the ginger is starting to slowly see some shoots. I think just because this spring has been so cool, the ginger just hasn't really wanted to pop. So a little bit slow out of the gate with those guys. This pouch here is the one that we overwintered and just let go, and we're getting new shoots out of that. And I'll show you the ginger down in the aquaponics because it's taken off rather well. This pouch over here, the wicking tray pouch, it looks to be doing the best out of the other pouches that are up here. So I don't know if it's, it is fairly moist down in there, but then again we've been getting just a wee tad bit of rain. And a lot of it's been coming in on this side of the veranda, so I haven't really had to worry about watering these guys too much. The rosemary's doing well. Bianca's little peperonia, I think. And this is a little black turmeric that I noticed had started to flower in one of the other pouches down the back. So I broke it off and brought it up here. Beautiful little flower down there. So just a little single plant. We might end up gifting that away to someone here. See if they'd like it, but I thought Bianca might like it up on the deck. Now though, we'll go down and have a look at that green jungle. So just downstairs now, and quickly before I give you a look at how much rain we got in the aquaponics, I just wanted to remind you folks that I do have that online interactive aquaponics beginner's guide. It'd be a great idea for you folks who want to find a present for someone who's slightly aqua curious and wants to learn a little bit more about aquaponics. There will be a link up the top there and also one down in the description if you want to suss that out after the video. It basically takes you over to my website that gives you a better look at what the guide's all about and how it works. But that's enough of that. We'll flip the camera around, and first of all I'll give you a look at how much rain we got this week. Just after we moved back home, we broke the rain gauge, so here's a bit of a look at what I've been using at the moment. It's I think they're around about a 60-litre wheelbarrow, and that is the rain that we've got since Tuesday. So yeah, it has been rather wet here. So much so I haven't been able to do a lot out the front where I was going to start focusing on the gardens. There's a lot of clay out there and it's just a little bit too boggy. The other project I do have on the go that I want to sort out is clearing out the aquaponics area. Again, just too wet at the moment, and I also need to find places for all this kit here. We're basically going to pull down the whole structure and then mark it out again. I think I explained earlier in another video that it's going to have to come out here on an angle so it runs parallel to the fence, so it'll end up, the bottom corner will end up being out around about that far. And yes, we've had a lot of rain, haven't been able to whippersnip the yard. Just quickly before we hit the aquaponics, thought I'd show you the lime tree. We have a load of limes on here. I gave this lady a really harsh cutback well over a year ago now. I had a lot of folks saying, oh, she'll never bounce back and produce more fruit for you. And I can tell you, I think she really loved the cutback as we have loads of fruit on. And yes, the leaves do look deficient. Been battling it for years. I've been doing foliar spraying, adding stuff to the ground. Whatever I'm doing isn't working, but with the amount of fruit we have on here, I'm not really complaining. So we'll go up now and have a gander at the aquaponics. So to begin with, I'll give you a look at some of the ginger here. This is a little bit of ginger that was overwintered in this bed here. And you can see down the bottom there, we do have some new sprouts coming through. And the mother rhizome actually started over the back there under the base of these self-sown Amarillo chilies. So yeah, I think we are going to get a decent amount of ginger out of these guys this season, and I'll show you the others in a tick. Down here we have some dill seedlings. Dill doesn't tend to do too well in our summers, so what I did was I just shook a dill flower head over this area here because it is pretty shaded, seeing as the sun comes up that way and moves sort of over the top, and I figured here would be nice and sheltered and we might get a little bit we can harvest off fresh for the potato salads. The chilies, I think I mentioned in a recent video we have the fruit flies hitting our fruit again. Actually I did, the last one you probably saw. So I've lost a load of chilies from this bush here in particular. So I've come out here with my little fruit fly bags. There's some socks that Chris gave me. So yeah, they're just tied up there, and hopefully they'll keep the fruit fly out. So what I normally do is just go around and check there's no little stings on the fruit. A lot of the fruit will just automatically fall off the plant as soon as the fruit flies sting it, and I discard them. If there are any that I've missed that do have stings on them and there's maggots in the fruit, well, they're captured in here and they won't go down to pupate in the bed when they emerge. So it's a bit of a win-win whether there's maggots in there or not. As for the rest of the plant, she's got a little bit out of control, those volunteers. What I'm planning on doing is coming back and cutting it right down, collecting all the smaller greener chilies and making up a green chili sauce. I made up an awesome one a couple of months back from the other aquaponic green chilies, and yeah, I want to make another batch up like that. Sort of has the heat, a little bit hotter than sriracha, with a nice fruity flavour of the green Tabasco sauce, if you're familiar with that. The rest of this bed is going okay. We'll move around here. Actually, we might toss some food in for the fish. So I've run out of all my larger pellets and I've gone out and bought a 20 kilo bag of these smaller little marine floating pellets. They're a 4mm by Ridley. I don't know how sociable they're going to be. I've been around, oh no, yeah, they're coming up. They're actually hitting the feed really well at the moment. Let's see if we can get the size of some of them for you. They're pretty big. I dare say we have a number well over 500 grams at the moment, and there are a couple that are a little bit smaller. So we do need to start harvesting them fairly soon. Sorry you may not be able to see them, but hey, calm down fellas. Just the lighting down here isn't the best for looking at these guys. It'll be a lot better once I move the system back over there because there'll be sunlight coming in over the top of the tank. Anyway, we'll leave the fish at it. And the rest of the system, yeah, she's powering along nicely. As you can imagine, with the amount of rain we've had, we have had the system overflow. So what I did do was I pulled out the bell siphon, or the bell from this siphon, just this little bottle, and I had this bed flooded for the last 3 days. Unfortunately, these little lettuce seeds, which I showed you sowing them out in the last video from memory, a lot of them have died, I think just because it's been too wet down there. The water's only sitting probably about that far below the top of the clay, so they didn't appreciate it. And I also thought, because of this ginger here, this is the other ginger we have on the grow, because it's a root crop, if it sits in water for too long, it could do it some damage. So I decided to pull the bell siphon, that little jobby out of there, out of the larger bed. So that's given us a little bit more of a buffer in the sump tank. I was speaking to Dazzza from Wizzzard Aquaponics. There'll be a link down in the description if you want to suss out his channel. And he was saying that we're expecting another probably 40 mil this afternoon, 20 to 40, I think he said that they were predicting. So I do want that extra freeboard in there to absorb any of that extra water that comes into the system. A lot of rain at the moment. I don't think it's knocked back the nutrient levels too far. Everything seems to be looking all right. I have had a few issues with the caterpillars though. As you can imagine, with so much rain, I can't keep the dipole on there enough for the caterpillars to be able to get knocked on the head. So I've been going around manually and squishing them where I can. Oh look, sunlight. Haven't seen that for a couple of days. Over in the bathtub bed now, I have a couple more pouches in here. I actually added in some more clay as well, just to bring the clay level up, to make sure we have no issue with algae growing on the surface. Over in this far one, I actually did these this morning just before I started filming. We have it's called a purple sweet potato, but the flesh is orange and the skin is a little bit red. That one there, I'm going to try and trail the greens over the edge there, along with the nasturtiums. I actually had to cut them back a little bit this morning to make some room. The reason I didn't put a third bag in here is because this will get rather bushy. These bags, by the way, both of them are set up the same. Sand down the bottom, then some potting mix, and then a handful of the activated rock minerals I like to use, and then topped it up with a bit more. This pouch here doesn't look like there's a lot growing on there, but I do have a nice healthy chunk of ginger down in there with a couple of sprouts on it, so that should take off nicely, I think. And of course the water chestnuts are doing rather well. Actually pulled one of these little fellas out earlier and just pushed him over to the side because it started to pop up in the center there. So yeah, fingers crossed we're going to get an alright crop out of both of those guys. I know the sweet potato is going to be pretty crowded in that small pouch, and so will this ginger, but you know, just trying to get a little bit more growing done in the system. Just before I walk around there, I'll give you a look at this cabbage here. These are one of the mini ones I popped in. A nice firm head on this one. This one over the back here, I'm having problems seeing it in the phone there. It was attacked by a caterpillar early on. I tried to save it, but I have a feeling the grub got right into the core there. Yeah, it is in focus, I think. So yeah, this little plant will have to come out. I've actually got some greens I'm saving up for my sister next time I go around. She's still got chooks, so I'll drop those greens off to her, and they can have a bit of a feed on that cabbage as well. But the rest of them seem to be heading up well, and I am, yeah, because the dipole isn't sticking, just coming out daily and making sure there's no grubs down there and squishing any eggs I see on the undersides of the leaves. Just for you folks who have thought about growing sweet potato, it does fantastically well in aquaponics. In fact, it starts to take off underneath the beds, and I dare say we might find some roots growing down between the pavers there. In the past I've grown them in the system, and I've never found that I've got any tubers, you know, decent sized ones in the grow beds themselves. But what they tend to do is they, wherever they hit the ground outside the system, they set down roots and you get nice tubers down there. This one here was just supposed to be overwintered for some slips, but as you've seen before, the back garden's not ready yet, so I'm thinking I'm just going to cut this one right back, use it as just a little bit of ground cover down the back, see if we can get it growing along on the ground down the back, and yeah, if we get a couple of spuds out of it, we do. Down here, the pure crop one has worked really well on the aphids, on the chives. Pretty much all gotten rid of all of them. And just notice this, see all that damage on there, folks? That is cluster caterpillars. I don't know if you can make them all out, but there's hundreds of little caterpillars under there. So once I'm done, I'm going to get some B-roll of those guys for future videos and break them off. They're a little, yeah, they call them a cluster caterpillar, and they just pretty much will just ravage everything. I've got, I think I've shown them in the pest control and aquaponics clip, so check that out, link up there and down in the description. Down onto the beets. These are the ones I mentioned in the last video. They're actually white beetroots, and as you can see, they've grown to a rather large size down the base here, but we've just been treating them as a silver beet, mainly because they're going to be a little bit chewy and stringy at that size there. And we've also do have some chard or silver beet around the back there as well that we've been harvesting. Bianca made up a very tasty chard and chook pasta dish the other night with some fresh pasta. So yeah, absolutely fantastic green to use, and the taste wise, I don't really notice the difference with it once it's cooked in through pasta. Oh, just show you up there, we do have a load of more chilies coming on this side over here. It's going to be very hard to chop her back, but I suppose if I get a number of these green chilies, I'll have enough to get some sauce, I suppose. So it looks like they polished that off quick smart. We'll give them a little bit more. I dare say that won't last too long either. These guys are actually on some pretty slim rations while I was waiting to go over and get the new feed. So the water temp has also helped as well. Coming up, these guys are a warm water species fish. They're the jade perch as well, for you folks who are new to the channel, an Aussie native fish. Just a quick heads up, and thanks again to Hoocho, who had me out to his property. We both did videos on my visit there. He did one looking at changing over from hydroponics to aquaponics. So if you're on that boat, check it out. There'll be a link pop up here at the end, and there's also one down in the description. And also for you folks who are already in aquaponics, pop on over and have a look at what Hoocho's got to offer. You might pick up a couple of ideas that you can muck around with in a system, very much like our own here. And on that note, Dazzza again, as I said, link down in the description. He's going to give me a couple of rain gutter grow systems that he didn't need anymore. He's already used them in aquaponics, so they will be making an appearance on the channel at some point down the line. Probably more so when we get the other system up and running and I've got a little bit more room to play with. But I will pretty much will leave it there. Thank you very much for coming along and thumbing up the video if you could. That'd be fantastic. And don't forget, you can always say g'day down in the comments section below. I always like to say g'day to the regulars and have a little bit of a chat down there. And thanks again to you folks who are supporting us through the YouTube membership program and the Farm Your Own Yard supporters page. Really do appreciate the support, folks. It helps us with the projects we have coming down the line. But I will pretty much leave it there. I do hope you're all well and happy, and I will catch you next video. Cheers, folks. Happy growing.